The historic naval base was alive with merriment, a tapestry of honor woven from the past, filled with families celebrating new beginnings. The bright blue sky overhead contrasted sharply with the crisp white sails of arriving vessels, while voices mingled with laughter and the gentle crash of waves against the shore. A soft breeze carried the scent of the ocean, invoking memories of deployments that felt a world away. As I stood at the entrance to the ceremony, I inhaled deeply, my heart throbbing in rhythm with the naval march drifting through the air. Today was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, my wedding day. I looked radiant in my flowing gown, the fabric shimmering as it danced around me, yet I couldn't shake the unsettling weight gathering in my stomach, an unease I had grown too familiar with over the years. The guests filled the rows of wooden pews, each face a mask of celebration, but I felt as though I was stepping into a battlefield rather than a sanctuary for vows. There, amidst the sea of smiling faces, I spotted Rachel, my cousin, leaning casually against the pew. Her designer dress hugged her figure perfectly, a stark reminder of the wealth and status she flaunted so easily. My heart sank further as I somehow felt her sordid intent radiating off her. She had always been the one to bask in the limelight, a star among family members, while I often felt like an outsider looking in. As I began to walk down the aisle, Rachel's eyes gleamed with mockery. It was almost tangible, that deluge of scorn washing over her face. I forced myself to maintain focus on the altar, one step at a time, but with each step, my confidence wavered. Just then, as if she had transformed this sacred moment into her own stage, Rachel leaned over to whisper, loud enough for those in the front to hear, "Gold digger." Like ice breaking around me, laughter erupted from a few nearby guests. The sound pierced through the air, sharper than any weapon I had encountered during my years of service in the Navy. It felt as though it wasn't just a taunt aimed at me, but a barrage of belittlement aimed at the very life I fought to build. The sting of her words settled in my chest like a lead weight, and I felt the lively atmosphere of love and joy grind to a high-pitched hum around me. I fought to maintain my composure, even as I felt the scrutinizing gazes of family and friends, dissecting every inch of me. They didn't understand that my life had not been gilded by riches. I had earned each commendation through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. What they saw was a mere wedding accessory to the affluent lifestyle they cherished, nothing more than a misfit in a family of perceived superiority. Yet they forgot who I became while they were laughing. I cast my eyes down as I approached my fiancé, my anchor against the storm brewing around me. His face glowed with the kind of love that transcends all poison and judgment, understanding the weight of my dedication to the Navy that ran deeper than mere accolades. I grasped his hand tightly, the warmth of his fingers weaving strength through my frail composure. With every vow I recited, I conjured memories of camaraderie, of nights spent strategizing and creating bonds with my fellow officers. I could still hear the roar of the sea beneath the hulls of our aircraft carriers, the adrenaline of missions that drew me closer to my brothers and sisters in arms. I thought of my own journey, a fight that could make or break a person, and the countless nights I sacrificed in pursuit of the honor I earned. Each badge I wore was a reminder of the resilience I possessed, the stark contrast to the fleeting expectations of my family. Rachel's laughter still pierced through my thoughts as I struggled to drown it out. I would not allow her disdain to overshadow what was truly important today. I focused on the officiant's voice, drowned out by the growing din around me, each word of our vows echoing against the backdrop of derision. "Do you take this man?" Each question brought me back to the precipice where my heart raced, reminding me why I was here, why this moment mattered. Yes, I take him not only as my partner, but as a symbol of hope, a reprieve from the constant judgment that surrounded my family. With every ounce of my being, I prepared to embrace the future, with my duties, sacrifices, and those who honored them. But the deeper injustice began to gnaw at me. Rachel and my family saw me as an enigma, a paradox who chose a life of service rather than basking in the privilege of wealth. I would not remain silenced anymore, a secret hidden beneath family smiles and hushed snickering. I had pondered often on how to reclaim my place amid their scrutiny, Today was not merely my wedding, it was a chance to elevate my voice, to demonstrate that my title isn't superficial. I am a Navy commander and will carry that badge with pride, refusing to be the punchline for Rachel's mockery anymore. As I finally looked up towards the altar, I steeled myself for whatever was to come. I was not just Emily, a girl in a wedding dress. I was a woman forged from the fires of service, someone worthy not only of my fiancé's love, but of a family's respect that had long been withheld, waiting for the right moment to break free. With that thought crystal clear, I took a deep breath and took my place beside my fiancé. Today, they would know the truth about who I truly am. Please confirm if you'd like to proceed to Block 2, Background and Family History. As I stood next to my fiancé, my heart filled with anticipation, the memories of my past began to unfurl like an ancient flag in a gentle breeze. Each recollection was a powerful reminder of the many journeys I'd traversed, forged in the fiery crucible of ambition and resilience as a Navy officer. But more than that, these memories were steeped in the ever-present shadow of my family's expectations and the weight of their disdain, pushing me toward the day I was living now, a day of not just love, but reclamation. Growing up in a household where my father was an esteemed admiral created a paradox for me. His accolades draped over our family like an impressive mantle, yet for years, I felt its weight crushing my spirit. In those early years, admiration for his uniform permeated through my veins, but so did the pressure to conform to the ideal he presented, an ideal I found increasingly suffocating. During family dinners, where laughter echoed and stories were swapped, I remember the looks exchanged between relatives whenever I dared express my aspirations. Aunt Linda was often the first to quip, "Emily, sweetie, wouldn't it be better for you to find a nice man instead of going off to sea?" Her words dripped with patronizing amusement. I can still hear the laughter bubbling around the table, each chuckle like a tiny knife that jabbed at my hopes. I felt all too visible, caught between their expectations and my own dreams, a daunting labyrinth with no clear exit. I had always wanted to help others, to shoulder a purpose greater than myself. The Navy offered me much more than a career. It laid the groundwork for my identity. However, each time I returned from a deployment, I faced an emotional minefield, rife with skepticism and unfiltered rejection. They questioned my decisions and belittled my ambitions almost as if they were attempting to navigate uncharted territories, ill-prepared for the turbulent waters of my commitment to service. I'll never forget that pivotal moment when I received my acceptance into Naval Academy. It was like being handed a ticket to a world where I would be valued for my tenacity. I rushed to tell my family, anticipating pride etched across my father's features. Yet, I was met with silent glances and forced congratulations. It felt as though I were a pariah daring to disrupt the family tradition of privilege and comfort. For them, my dreams were buried beneath well-structured expectations. Dreams they didn't understand because they were wholly unfamiliar with sacrifice and dedication to one's country. With every deployment, as I endured grueling training sessions and earned valid commendations, instead of applause, I returned home to hollow sentiments. The truth was, my familial acceptance seemed forever tethered to societal status, detached from valor or strength. I started to internalize the burden of comparison, Rachel's glitz and glamour only highlighting my choices, which they dismissed as unfitting for someone of my stature within the family. Before long, I learned to build walls around my heart, fortifying myself against the criticism. The repeated verbal barbs became a harsh soundtrack to my existence. Still, underneath it all, a fire flickered, the kind of fire that fed on disparagement and transformed it into resolve. Instead of feeling defeated, I donned my marine blues with renewed pride, my uniform becoming a second skin, a testament to all the battles fought, not just on the water, but within my very soul. As time passed, I rose through the ranks, promoted for my skills and strategic excellence. I recall the day I earned the title of Navy Commander, standing tall on the podium, the room shimmering with the pride of my peers, where for a fleeting moment, my heart soared. I searched the sea of faces for the familiar ones of my family, yearning for acknowledgement, craving their applause. But as always, the absence of supportive cheers echoed back at me. a poignant reminder of what I lacked yet again. But I refused to let their dismissals mute the pride I felt during those ceremonies. I realized that I was in control of my narrative, the architect of my destiny. Each successful mission, each commendation became a piece of armor, shielding me against the barbs of family ridicule. It dawned on me that their laughter only emphasized the gulf between us, the garrison that I would continue to strengthen, one mission at a time. The weddings and holidays turned into stages for Rachel to flaunt her privilege. Each gathering included elaborate discussions, filled with forgettable small talk about successful transactions and lavish vacations, creating a stark reminder of our differing lives. During Thanksgiving, while she divulged tales of skiing in Aspen, I would recount experiences overseas, and each time, their reactions would be grave. Their polite applause was suffocated by pretentious smiles, the perceived disdain evident in their body language. Somewhere, deep inside, it fueled a fire that I never intended to extinguish. Another deployment came and went, and with it, stories crafted in the heart of the ocean. When I returned home, it felt as if I stood on the precipice of a familiar abyss, where hidden laughter and dismissive remarks awaited me. But as I embraced my fiancé's warm presence, determination seeped into my bones like the salt water I often encountered aboard the carriers. This time, things would be different. The wedding was designed not merely as a celebration between lovers, but as a stage where I would confront my past. I envisioned my family, seated smartly, with Rachel in her designer dress flaunting her sophistication. But today, I was in a gown of my own making, stitched together with grit and determination. I wore my uniform underneath, a silent proclamation of everything I fought for. As I observed the guests, I reminded myself that every judgment they passed would swirl around my determination to forge ahead, an unshakable resolve growing with each beat of my heart. It was a ceremony meant to echo my successes, not diminish them. This was my moment, and there was no turning back. When the officiant initiated the ceremony, each word felt like a weapon against the fallacies of expectation. "Do you take this man?" echoed, softly and unintentionally harmonizing with my heart's rhythm. Standing before my fiancé, I checked the wellspring of confidence within myself. Yes, I will. An answer that I not only offered to him, but the years of hardship I had endured battling ineffable family disdain. Today, it wasn't just about love, it was also about standing tall, my executioner self-confidence on display. I was Emily, a proud Navy commander, a woman forged from adversity, with scars worn as badges illuminating the sheer power of endurance. My family's judgment no longer mattered. I chose to regard them as specters of the past, not the architects of my future. Today was a battle won, regardless of their acceptance. The voice of the officiant became the anchor, bringing each family member's face into sharper focus with every passing word. I felt my heart racing as I prepared to proclaim the undeniable truth, my journey. Today, I would reclaim my identity, and my family would finally know the woman I had become, one forged in the fires of reclamation. Please confirm if you'd like to proceed to Block 3, the breaking point. The officiant's voice reverberated through the air, mixing with the steady beat of my heart. Do you take this man to be your husband? Each repeated prompt hung heavy with significance, penetrating through the fog of anticipation that had enveloped me. I wanted to shout my answer from the rooftops, ready to fortify my own truth amidst the roiling sea of family scrutiny. As the vows took shape, I glanced at my fiancé, the steadfast partner who had walked by my side through both turbulent seas and still waters. He understood my battles, knew the weight of the past I carried, and until this moment, I never fully realized how much his love had shielded me from the scorn of my family. This wasn't just a display of love, it was a demonstration of my emergence from the shadows and into the light. It wasn't long before I caught sight of Rachel, her designer gown shimmering like a mirage, a deceptive semblance of beauty that masked her contempt. I had known she would be gunning for me, ready to pull at the threads of insecurity woven into my very fabric. Her expression mirrored that of my family, a mix of distaste and disbelief at my audacity to stand where I stood. I could sense the judgment pressing in on me, a palpable force that threatened to drown me where I stood. Suddenly, "Do you take this man?" pierced through my thoughts again, pulling me from the tempest of my emotions. "Yes, I will," I declared, a fierce determination boiling within me, echoing louder than the laughter that had taunted my every success. I took a moment, locked eyes with my fiancé, drawing strength from his steady presence. In that gaze, I was reminded of my true purpose today. It was about love, sure, but it was also a statement, the undeniable truth that I had reclaimed my identity. My heart raced as we began exchanging vows, his words melodious in their sincerity. But as I spoke my own, crafting my promises to him, the sound of laughter from my family broke through. It was low at first, a muffled hum that threatened to rise into something unbearable. My father whispered something to Rachel, and I caught snippets of their conversation, the unmistakable tones of mockery in their laughter bypassing the air with a potency that hit me like a gale force, rattling my very core. Beneath the polished veneer, I felt the sting of their perception cut into me, like barbed wire wrapped around my spirit. Could they not see the woman standing before them, the Navy commander I had fought so hard to become? My heart threatened to falter, and in that moment of vulnerability, I felt the uniform resting against my skin, a constant reminder that I had overcome battles not just external, but internal. Then, I steadied myself, inhaling deeply. The laughter that cascaded from my family fueled my determination, transmuting hurt into defiance. I clung to the notion that today was a battlefield of sorts, a confrontation where I would emerge victorious against the odds they had set before me. The ceremony, the vows, it all spiraled into a potent force-building momentum, a storm ready to erupt. "Emily?" The officiant's voice bounced back into clarity, pulling me from my swirling thoughts. "Do you promise to be faithful, to support him in times of trouble and rejoice with him in times of happiness?" "Yes," I replied, voice firm, desperation mingling with fervor. This was more than just words. I was battling not just for my relationship, but proving my worthiness in front of the very family that had belittled me. Each syllable unspooled a spell, casting away the shadows of inadequacy. I could feel my heart pounding in response to the cacophony of emotions churning within me. My family's laughter faded from focus, and in its place, the voices of my comrades surged forth, echoes of "Admiral on deck" and "Job well done" commanded attention around me like solemn fanfare. In this moment, this beautiful, chaotic moment, I felt embraced by the essence of the Navy itself, the unity, strength, and acknowledgement of even the smallest victories enveloped me. The laughter of my family turned into a faint whisper, droplets of disdain scattered upon waves of solidarity. I reached deep, past the years of feeling overshadowed, and seized the strength of my experiences, finally acknowledging that my path was vital and worthy of respect. As I completed my vows, I could see the incredulous looks exchanged between my family members. Their jaws hung slightly ajar as they processed the assertiveness I had displayed. I took pride in the moment, their power waning, wisdom dawning. I had turned the tide, refusing to allow their disdain to dominate this day. My fiancé stepped closer, taking my hands. As he leaned in and gazed into my eyes, I felt reassured that love would only strengthen my resolve. He whispered words of encouragement that swirled around us, a vortex drawing me in. "We'll face it together. I know you're strong." In that instant, I understood the significance of partnership. This was more than love. It was a union prepared to tackle whatever storm threatened to rise around us. The officiant continued, "Do you, Emily, take this man to be your husband? To love and to cherish in sickness and in health, for as long as you both shall live?" "Yes." The word exploded from my lips, imbued with power. I felt as though I had silenced the laughter once and for all, a declaration that echoed throughout the ceremony, reverberating in the hearts of those who mattered. My heart thundered in my chest, a culmination of years of strife, sacrifice, and finally, affirmation. However, just as we reached the climax of our vows, someone from the crowd protested. My father's booming voice, filled with indignation and disbelief, cut through the air like a jagged blade. "This is absurd!" he barked. "You think you can just stand here in front of everyone, acting as if you've earned our respect?" His words traveled through the audience, shifting their focus back to him. The murmur began anew as startled gasps spread like wildfire, igniting conversations among relatives unsure of where to direct their feelings. An onslaught of emotion washed over me, anger, defiance, and even sorrow. I felt my spirit strengthen the moment Rachel joined in, snickering beside him, her laughter starkly contrasting the gravity of the situation. The family dynamics shifted from celebration to confrontation in mere moments. I could feel my fiancé's grip tighten on my hands as the warmth of camaraderie felt fragile under the weight of my father's contempt. But I knew this was the moment, to finally confront my past, to bridge the chasm that had kept us apart for so long. Turning to face my father, I summoned every ounce of courage, my Navy training flooding my veins. "Dad," I started, voice steady despite the turbulence in my emotions. "If you have questions about my worthiness, listen closely. I do not need your approval, nor will I let your mockery dictate who I am. I am proud of my service, proud to be a Navy commander, and proud to marry the love of my life. I'm not asking you to love it, but I do demand your respect." With every statement, I felt the tremors of hesitation fade, my voice crescendoed, emboldened by the waves of support arriving from the sidelines. My fellow officers, friends who had fought beside me, and those who knew my struggle personally. The hall, once cloaked in the unease of family ridicule, now buzzed with the energy of realization. I could see my family, particularly my father, reeling from the unexpected confrontation, their shields shattering, unable to dismiss the strength I'd uncovered. This was it, my breaking point. I had resurrected myself from the depths of their contempt and emerged victorious. "Today, I choose not just love, but reclaiming who I am," I shouted, every word reverberating in the room, cementing my identity. The audience erupted in supportive applause, a counterbalance to the doubt my family held. The intensity of my emotions mirrored the significance of the moment. This time, I wouldn't be sounding the retreat. This fight was for my place at the helm of my life, unapologetically presenting the Navy commander who refused to be silenced any longer. Suddenly, my father took a step back, the color draining from his face, the reality of my words resonating deeply. In that instance, I understood I had not just struck a chord with him, but perhaps even planted a seed of change for our dynamic. And just like that, under the watchful gaze of friends, family, and my beloved fiancé, everything shifted. I had let my voice rise from the shadows and claim its position of strength. I was Emily, proud, compassionate, resilient, a woman determined to live her truth, and there was no going back. Please confirm if you'd like to proceed to Block 4, Signs of Revelation. Though the echo of applause still reverberated around the hall, I locked my gaze onto my father. In that moment, I could see the myriad of emotions playing across his features: shock, disbelief, and a flicker of something else, perhaps grudging respect. This was the moment I had dreamed of, yet it still felt surreal. It was like standing on the edge of a precipice, the wind whipping through my hair, threatening to throw me off balance. I reminded myself that I had traversed stormier seas before. As the echoes of my words died down and the guests began to whisper amongst themselves, the atmosphere shifted. Those who knew my journey looked at me with understanding. They had stood by me through the years of service, the years of sacrifice, a brotherhood and sisterhood forged in the fires of military trials. Here were my fellow officers, my true family, silently affirming my stand. Row after row, they kept their heads held high, solidarity sparkling in their eyes. I took a step closer to my fiancé, who was beaming with pride, his grip reassuring around my elbow. His love felt like an anchor amidst chaos, holding me steady while my world shifted on its axis. I could sense the changing dynamics around us. The unease radiating from my family mingled with the warmth radiating from those who had supported me. It was a living, breathing entity, the collective recognition of my worth and contributions filling the air. It was then that the moments we shared with my family surfaced in my mind. I remembered the late-night phone calls where I recounted tales of bravery, the challenges I faced, and the camaraderie I built. Each story met with disinterest, laughter, or condescension. But today, the story felt like it was mine to tell without a sense of shame. The narrative of my struggle had morphed from something I concealed into something I bore proudly. I refused to hide any longer. I pledged silently, channeling every ounce of fierce determination within. I had survived too much to let their expectations drown the purpose guiding my steps. Just as I felt I had mastered my emotions, my father's voice sliced through the tension once more. "Emily, I didn't mean—" The words trailed off as he encountered a subtle grimace from my mother, who, with her own history of dealing with the pressures of family expectations, suddenly appeared pained. She was standing behind him, unable to meet my gaze, rooted in a web of her own entanglements. Finally, she broke the silence. "Maybe we've all misunderstood," she faltered, her tone wavering. "Emily, my dear." Her voice clung to the air, a fragile lifeline amidst the storm brewing in the room. "You found something that meant everything to you, and I never accepted it. I thought you needed us, our life of comfort, our ideals. But now, I see the woman you've become. I see the Navy, the service, the entire life you created." Her face held a mixture of regret and awe. A wave of emotion surged through me, battling against the remnants of bitterness toward the years they had dismissed my journey. Yet at that moment, I understood the complexity of familial love, an acknowledgement of not just my fight, but her struggle too. "It wasn't safe. It scared us," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "But perhaps it was time we recognized that your battle is entirely yours to own." The depth of her confession took me by surprise, and I felt the knots in my chest begin to loosen. Amongst all the years of mockery, the judgment, and clear rejection was vulnerability, not just from me, but from them as well. I could see the cracks forming in the rigid wall that divided us, a lifelong edifice of expectations that simply couldn't withstand the authenticity of my truth any longer. But before I could respond, Rachel burst through the moment, her voice laced with disdain. "This is absurd. Just because you had a little confrontation doesn't mean you'll make us see you differently. You'll always be an imposter in a naval uniform." Her spite was palpable, desperate and raw, exposing her insecurities wrapped in the guise of envy. At that moment, my gut sunk. Rachel's behavior wasn't about me. It was a reflection of her unresolved issues. I found myself at a crossroads, a choice to foster hate with hate. Yet, I refused to let her taunts derail my progress. Instead, I took a deep breath, remembering the tactical calm that Navy training had instilled in me. "I didn't join the Navy to impress you, Rachel." My voice rang with sincerity. "I joined for my love of service, to defend what matters most." A surge of courage flowed through me with each syllable. "Maybe, just maybe, you should look inside yourself to uncover why my path bothers you so much. Perhaps it's time for you to break free from the chains of your own privilege." The room fell into silence, the tension punctuated only by the shifting sounds of murmurs. In that very moment, I felt a transformative shift, a feeling of liberation that came not just from defending myself, but standing for my truth. My father's gaze flickered between me and Rachel, seemingly conflicted. It was as if the begrudging respect he had begun to develop moments ago was being challenged by the reactions of his perfect daughter. But I would not take a step back. I was determined to own this narrative, my story, without apology or regret. With my voice steady and clear, I addressed the room at large. "The Navy taught me that true strength is not merely about ambition and accolades, but about the willingness to confront discomfort, to be authentic even when faced with hostility. I'm choosing my life and passion over living within expectations. I'm no longer relegated to the shadows. I refuse to shrink." Even as I spoke, I could witness the ripples of realization cascading through the audience. Their faces were no longer masked in disbelief or scorn. Instead, many mirrored reflective expressions, evaluating the truths buried beneath layers of family dignity. My friends in service began to rise, their supportive murmurs evolving into enthusiastic cheers. "Emily!" they shouted, their voices a cacophony of solidarity. "We value you!" Each cheer resonated like a tidal wave, washing over the assembled gathering, consumed in the momentum of my proclamation. It was incredibly empowering, a storm of validation replete with camaraderie directed solely toward me. The walls built around me by my family began to shatter from the infectious energy flowing through the hall. In that heartbeat, I felt something shift once more, different this time, a heartening wave of awakening spanning the spaces between us. Rather than feeling isolated by my family's judgments, I felt enveloped by support manifesting in real and tangible forms. The crowd shifted, regaining a sense of purpose as if my declaration was a reminder of the sacrifices made for one another, forging ahead not as adversaries, but as comrades. A moment that felt imperceptibly long, I caught sight of my father's expression softening, as if he were finally processing the meaning of my choices, the blaring light of truth breaking through years of dense fog. The defensive posture he had carried for so long seemed to weaken, like an old soldier willingly lowering his weapon. "Emily, His voice wavered, but gradually stabilized, burdened yet vulnerable. "I had thought I could control your path, seeing this as your fate, and how wrong I've been. I never appreciated the meaning behind your choices, the courage that you carried with you every step of the way." Tears welled in my eyes, not out of sorrow, but joy, an understanding blossoming within the bonds that had felt so compromised all these years. "Dad," I replied softly, "it's never too late to understand. It's time for both of us to rise above this condescension." All eyes were fixed on us as the dynamic shifted once again, and I could see the faintest hint of recognition in my father's demeanor. A tentative nod signaled a request for truce, a familial embrace of perspective long overdue. In that moment, all prejudices seemed to dissolve. I wasn't defending my title or masking my worth. I was unmasking it in a completely different light. The vulnerability remained palpable, yet more accessible, creating an opening, a bridge upon which my words could help us traverse misunderstanding toward redemption. "Can we start anew?" my mother said, her voice trembling with emotion. "We'd like to know about your journey, your stories, and to understand the woman you've become. We're ready to listen now." Beneath the pressure of the moment, I felt a spark reignite, something radiant and beautiful piercing through the uncertainty. This was my moment to not only speak truth, but to allow others to see the deeper connection we sought. "Yes," I said, my heart swelling with optimism. "Let's share." It wasn't just about revealing the past anymore. It was about forging a new future, pieces of our lives interwoven together through shared compassion. I glanced toward the crowd once more, seeing the officers nodding in agreement, before turning back to my family, ready to embrace this new path. As conversations began to ripple through the crowd, it was no longer just a wedding ceremony. It was a rekindling of understanding, a call to reconnect, acknowledge the battles we all faced, and open the door to building a more profound narrative together. It was transforming into a ceremony where we could finally rewrite our story as a family, not just dictated by a legacy of repulsion, but empowered by the love and warmth of shared journeys. The thoughts raced through my mind as laughter filled the room, mingling with questions, curiosity, and acceptance. My defenses softened, and the battles inside revealed an unexpected truth. This was a new chapter, one of healing, understanding, and love, and amidst it all, the echo of solidarity remained strong. My heart was in my throat as I felt a rush of gratitude, and the day as a whole morphed into a celebration of our renewed commitment, not just to one another, but to the journey of life we would now navigate from here on out. In that pivotal moment, clarity washed over me once more. I realized that this was not just a confrontation, it was a crossing, a bridge toward reconciliation and understanding that would forever shape not only my life, but also the lives of those I loved. And with that, I took a collective breath, resolutely ready to embrace the battles ahead, journeying together, a family reborn under the backdrop of acceptance and love. Please confirm if you'd like to proceed to Block 5, Dramatic Revelation. The atmosphere in the hall shifted dramatically, pulsating with the energy of renewal and unity. I was cocooned by the warmth of acceptance, the sound of laughter swirling softly through the air, enveloping the sense of camaraderie that seemed to arise from behind the shadows of familial discord. In this moment, the past, with its disappointments and disagreements, faded into the background, overshadowed by the incredible recognition of my efforts and hard-won accomplishments. But as I stood, my gaze locked onto my father, something shifted within me. He stood there, still processing my heartfelt statements, his eyes reflecting the intense conflict that had long defined our relationship. Finally, with a deep breath, he took a bold step forward, drawing all eyes to him. "Emily," he began, his voice wavering, "I want to apologize for every time I dismissed your decisions, every moment I underestimated your dreams." He cast his gaze over the room, seemingly searching for validation amidst the onlookers, as if to reinforce his sincerity. I didn't understand. I thought my way was the only way to honor success. But I see now that you've built something truly commendable. The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy yet brimming with hope. A wave of emotion rushed through me. I didn't expect this openness from him. Was it finally the moment when all those years of dismissiveness and obscured aspiration were chipping away? The incredulous looks exchanged with my family hinted that maybe, just maybe, he was beginning to grasp the magnitude of what I had accomplished. The applause erupted again from my friends, my comrades in arms, and the celebratory energy flowed like an invigorating river coursing through the gathering. I stood taller, feeling more anchored, bridging the emotional gaps laid bare by years of misunderstanding and judgment. In the midst of this reconnection, however, the doors at the back of the hall swung open wide, and in marched a solid formation of Navy SEALs, their presence commanding and undeniable. Each step they took resonated like the timeless beat of a naval march, certain, formidable, and binding us in a shared mission. My heart swelled with pride. The warriors I had fought alongside came to honor me unexpectedly today, and their solidarity thrilled me to my very core. "Why are SEALs here?" I heard Rachel murmur, her incredulity evident. Frustration seeped into her tone. I could sense the ripples of discomfort spreading through my family as they processed the profound shift in the atmosphere. Still, I stood resolute, awash in the pride of this moment. My past desire to earn their approval fell further down the priority list. Today, the focus was on relationships forged in battle, in the fires of adversity. The commanding officer stepped forward, stepping into the spotlight as he addressed both the audience and me. "Commander Emily Williams," he declared, loud enough for all to hear, his words echoing with authority. "Today, we are proud to celebrate you, not only for your service, but for your leadership and unwavering commitment to the Navy." The crowd erupted once more in applause, filling my soul like a rushing tide. The SEALs, alongside my fellow Navy officers, clapped with deep resonance, affirming the journey I had taken. Each moment felt surreal, a cathartic release from the binding norms that had constrained me for so long. I watched as the commanding officer proudly unfurled the navy blue flag, emblazoned with insignias that represented my rank, a symbol of my hard-earned status among those whose sacrifices deserved to be honored. Even in the presence of this momentous occasion, I could hear muffled murmurs from my family behind me, confused, startled, but perhaps starting to transform. "Today, we formally acknowledge you, Commander Emily Williams. Stand up and be proud. You are a true member of our brotherhood, and we welcome you with open arms." His voice rang true, instilling in me an excitement that made every struggle worth it. As I stood before the formation, the SEALs snapped their hands to their brows in an impeccable salute, the sound of precision harmonizing with the wave of pride surging through my chest. Not just me, but my accomplishments, My sacrifices and my tenacity were being recognized, not as an afterthought, but celebrated in a profound atmosphere of honor and respect. With a steady breath, I returned the salute, an instinctual gesture that felt powerful. For once, I didn't just feel like someone seeking approval. I embodied the essence of the Navy. I was not just a daughter trying to earn her father's respect, but a leader in my own right, standing at the helm of my identity, not defined by anyone else but myself. "Thank you," I began, my voice vibrating with elation and resilience, feeling the familiar stone of my heart breaking down as warmth flooded in. This honor is beyond anything I could imagine, and it is a testament to those who have supported me along the way. You are my brothers and sisters in arms, and I am proud to have each of you in my life. There was a fire in my chest as I continued. Let us not define ourselves based on preconceived notions, but rather embrace the greater stories that unite us all in purpose. As the applause thundered around me, I glanced to my father. I could see a hint of something shifting in him, perhaps pride, perhaps reverence. With the foundation laid for our familial reconnection, I dared to believe that we could withstand the storm of years spent in silence. The commanding officer's voice interjected, breaking the cycle of turmoil and doubt. As your fellow sailors, understand that today is not only about honoring Emily, but reconnecting with the essence of what it means to serve. We stand beside you, knowing that it is our collective journey, our shared sacrifices, and our commitment to each other as military professionals that truly matter. It was in that moment I felt an emotional tidal wave crashing over me. Memories flooded back, not just of my successes, but of the grueling trials my comrades and I had faced. The long nights away from home, the sacrifices made in service of our nation, and the loss and hardships that had shaped us all weighed heavily in the hearts of each soul present. Collectively, we carried similar burdens, creating invisible bonds that tethered us in a way no words could express. The room was charged with emotional resonance as my heart raced with a melange of feelings. I turned my attention back to my family, noting their expressions shift from disbelief to reflection, realization dawning as they started to understand the magnitude of this occasion. They were in the presence of something larger than themselves, an unbreakable connection between the Navy and all those who had stood tall in service. The applause crescendoed into a chorus of encouragement, a brigade of celebration that melded seamlessly with my narrative. My chest filled with warmth, drawn from the collective acceptance surrounding me as the energy converted into something electric. "Let's not dwell in a sea of misunderstandings any longer," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. I refuse to be perceived merely as a soldier of war, but as a daughter, a friend, and an ally. Today should serve as a reminder for all of us. Relationships are not about chains of expectation, but rather mutual understanding. I locked eyes once more with my father, and in that shared moment, something essential was conveyed. A silent agreement to shift our paths together. Perhaps this monumental day would be the catalyst needed to bring my family closer. The commanding officer spoke again. "In celebration of this journey we embark upon together, we welcome you back into our ranks, Commander. Remember, this is not only about service, it's about finding strength in each other, folding our differences into the tapestry that creates our bond." The room erupted into frenzied applause, almost drowning out the commanding officer's warm words. But beyond the noise, I started to feel less like an outsider seeking acceptance and more like a vital contributor to something meaningful. They were right. The Navy was a family, one built on adversity and acknowledgement, where bonds forged in combat could blossom into enduring friendships beyond the walls of war. As the noise settled, I recognized a familiar voice emerging from the warmth of the gathered crowd. "Emily!" one of my colleagues shouted. "You stand tall in what you believe." The remark sent ripples through the assembled officers, as if they had each drawn courage from my journey, and they began to chant my name, creating a rhythm that resonated throughout the hall, an unyielding song of unity. That pulse of solidarity surged through my veins, commanding every fragmented thought to unite under the banner of love and respect. And amid that chaos, as I glanced back at my family, I noticed an unmistakable change in Rachel's demeanor. Confusion ebbed as recognition flickered, accompanied by something unexpected, an essence of reflection, possibly even begrudging admiration that broke through the fog of bias. Today isn't just my day, I continued, letting the tangible wave of collective support wash over me. This is our day, to break the patterns, to stand unified, to recognize that we are stronger when we confront the storms together. With that, I took a deep breath, feeling the surge of my acknowledgement unfold within me, like the flag unfurling in the winds of honor. I had regained my voice. I had shifted the dynamics not just of my life, but of my family's narrative. This was not merely a moment in time, it was a crossroads. In that instant, I thought of the profound ripple effects this day could unlock. Bonds being rebuilt piece by piece, and a future blossoming with possibilities previously unimagined, an expedition shared, filled with love, acceptance, and the strength to wipe the slate clean. Time ticked softly on in that moment, as members of my family began to gather closer, sharing smiles and laughter with the present company. I felt warmth radiating outward, an invisible embrace that enveloped us, reminding me that this was only the beginning. Renewed connections were being forged even now, through the cadence of shared stories and understanding, compounding into something beautiful. As the ceremony continued, and the laughter turned to conversation, I reveled in the significance of today. The past was a sanctuary, the present a carefully constructed garden, and the future awaited with wonder. I understood that my journey had not only shaped me, but would lay the path ahead for those who followed. And as I exchanged glances with my fiancé, whose unwavering support remained solid throughout, I realized that what had once felt impossible was now blossoming before my eyes, a narrative rewoven with love, resilience, and endless possibilities. Indeed, today would be marked not only as a wedding, but as a rendezvous between journeys, promises renewed, and identities reclaimed. Together, we could navigate the unpredictable waters ahead, position our family as true allies on this splendid voyage, embracing our complex and intertwined legacies amidst the beauty of our unwavering bond. As the laughter and shared joy settled in, I marveled at how a single moment could rip away the veil of silencing, glowing in the wonder of all that was yet to come, as I stood there, finally whole in my identity, unashamed and proud. Please confirm if you'd like to proceed to Block 6, Antagonist's Reaction. As the warmth and joy radiated through the hall, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment intertwine with the anticipation lingering in the air. The connections forged that day were palpable, like delicate threads glistening with promise, weaving a fresh tapestry of relationships shaped by renewed understanding and acceptance. Yet, even amidst the triumph, I could sense the undercurrents of tension pulsating from my family, particularly from Rachel, whose expressions danced between resentment and perhaps the ghost of recognition. While my colleagues embraced me, clapped my back, and congratulated my achievements, I caught sight of Rachel standing aloof, her arms crossed defensively. She seemed to retreat further into her shell, and I could hardly decipher the emotions flickering behind her narrowed eyes. The vibrant celebrations swirled around me, but her presence felt like an anchored weight. Despite my attempts to appreciate the moment, a small cloud of uncertainty lingered, and I was drawn to the whirlwind of emotions encapsulating my sister. "Can you believe this?" Rachel huffed to our mother, her tone laced with disdain. "She's basking in validation from a bunch of SEALs and Navy officers. What does that even mean?" The jealousy in her words hung like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over the warmth that enveloped me. My mother, on the other hand, seemed caught between the past and present, her face showing an odd cocktail of pride over my achievements and concern for how this narrative was playing out in the family. Rachel, we need to acknowledge the monumental shift here. Emily has fought to find herself, and this is an important recognition. Her voice trembled, as if she feared riptides might pull her daughter back into the cold water of past judgments. It's just a wedding, Rachel spat back, her frustration mounting. We're obsessed with her military accolades, but what about family? What about what we tried to create before she ran off to join the Navy? This isn't what we intended. She cast an eye toward the SEALs, disdain dripping from her voice, as if their presence alone was an affront to our family integrity. As I took in Rachel's words, I felt an urge to step forward, to advocate not just for myself, but for the intricate tapestry we were all weaving together. It hurt to hear her question my journey, but I understood that she was grappling with her own sense of identity. Even as I stood proud, I could see the storm brewing just beneath the surface. "No, Rachel," I said firmly, gathering my thoughts. "This is not just about the Navy. This is about reclaiming my voice, seeking the respect I've always deserved, and realizing that I can stand tall in who I am without needing to play the role of someone else." My words flowed with conviction, fueled by years of confrontation and struggle against their misconceptions. Being here today is a testament to our growth as a family, one where every member deserves to shine. The room quieted momentarily, the cheers of my fellow officers gently fading into the back, the echoes of laughter now hushed whispers as they tuned into our conversation, the very air crackling with anticipation of what might come next. Rachel's eyes widened, a flicker of conflict darting across her features. "But it doesn't change the fact that you left us. You chose the Navy over us," she shot back, crossing her arms tighter, visibly defensive. "You walked away from our family to chase something that always felt out of reach in your mind. The perfect uniform, the perfect service. And now you want us to praise you for it?" Her words struck deep, a taut string pulled to its limit, ready to snap. I understood how deeply she felt abandoned when I chose to pursue my career in the Navy, but it was a choice made out of necessity, not rejection. "Rachel," I said softly, willing her to hear me, "you don't understand what it was like for me growing up. I was always seen as the lesser choice, the one who couldn't succeed. Joining the Navy was my chance not just to escape, but to prove to myself that I could accomplish something on my own." I felt the sting of her anger wash over me. She scoffed, her expression hardening. "But at what cost? You think this is all for you? You think it's about accolades?" Rachel continued, her voice charging the air, thick with resistance. "You left us behind, Emily. I've had to deal with your absence, not just in family photos, but in every moment of celebration since." Her words, fired with passion, reverberated through the space, and I caught glances of workshop conversations among our family, some echoing her sentiments. I took a deep breath and chose my next steps carefully. It was clear Rachel felt that I had overlooked what it meant to belong, to be part of a family that supported one another. "Rachel, please try to understand," I uttered, my tone gentle yet firm. "What I fought for wasn't just for my own benefit. It was to embody the ideals I cherish. It became part of me, who I am, and what I hope to inspire in you too. I cannot be someone I'm not to align with your version of family." Our mother stepped in, sensing the tension mount. "Rachel, what Emily did was brave. Her service reflects not just her identity, but the sacrifices she'd made. Perhaps we should celebrate these distinctions rather than focus solely on her absence." "But it feels like we've lost her, Mom." Rachel bit back, her voice shaking. "In some ways, every family member serves a purpose, and even in my absence, I hope to create something beautiful." Something snapped within me then. I had always tread lightly around family conversations, hoping to appease rather than confront. Today, that would no longer be the case. Did I lose you? Or did you choose to overlook my struggles while I was learning to fly? I can't change the past, but I can change the future. Together, we can do that. My voice remained steady, fueling my resolve to be brave in the face of adversity. This isn't just about me standing out in my career, it's about us, the unity we can cultivate from here on out, embracing the messiness of family. A palpable silence followed. Even as I fought against the currents of family dynamics, I sensed the crushing weight of years of miscommunication lift slightly. My father had turned toward Rachel, visibly erasing the look of mockery to one of contemplation. The seals surrounding me had created distance. I appreciated their supportive presence. Yet this was an internal family struggle that needed resolution, a discourse that ran deeper than mere accolades. I locked eyes with Rachel, trying to convey a heartfelt truth. I want to have you beside me in this journey, Rachel. We can rewrite the narrative. Can we agree to work together? Please? Her defenses seemed slightly lowered, and for a moment, her expression shifted. I could almost see the cogs turning in her mind. It's not that simple, she murmured, her defenses cracking for the first time. I guess I struggle with understanding how we can all fit together. I spent years trying to contemplate our family roles, and now you stand before me like you've created a life without us. I took a courageous step forward. I'm right here, Rachel. You're a part of this journey, too. This isn't just my wedding, it's our reunion. Let's learn from each other instead of building walls that keep us apart. The gentle fervor in my voice ignited a soft glint of hopefulness. Are we still family if we do not discuss how we feel? It's like we've become strangers, Rachel finally admitted, her tone softening, though still layered with pain. Only if we allow ourselves to be strangers, I countered, warmth infusing my words. But let us not allow the misunderstandings to tear us apart. We have shared histories, the ups and downs, the love and resentment. Can we learn to share our present and future? My heart raced as I extended a tentative hand toward her. The murmurs among the attendees settled as everyone clung to our exchange, sensing the gravity of our conversation. I recalled the warmth and support surrounding me, realizing that this was an opportunity to weave back together the threads of our family, even if a delicate bond was all that remained. Rachel's gaze shifted as she contemplated my offer, and gradually she unclasped her arms, letting her body relax ever so slightly. I don't know if I'm ready, but I guess it might be time to let go of the past, she finally confessed, uncertainty lingering on her lips. I don't want to be resentful anymore, and I don't want to resent you for leaving. It's just difficult. I felt my heart hum in response, my conviction solidifying further. That burden is not something we should carry alone, I replied, the warmth in my chest blossoming gently, encouraging her response. Perhaps this moment was the beginning of something as glorious as reclamation, a journey not just for me, but for all of us. It would be a path marked by resilience, honesty, and acceptance within each of our roles. With that, Rachel took a small, hesitant step toward me, her gaze shifting, almost considering. You really mean it? We can actually find a way forward? Yes, I truly do, I said, my voice resolute. Together, we can reshape our family narrative, embrace our complexities and embedded histories. Just as I belong to the Navy, I belong to you too. As the air hummed between us, I could sense a softening of her defenses, and I hoped brightly that she was on the cusp of acceptance. Warmth spread throughout the chamber, and I felt the tides beginning to shift. With a deep breath, Rachel offered a tentative smile. Okay, she whispered. Let's see where this takes us. And in that very instant, it felt as though the chains constraining our family had snapped away, creating a precious opportunity to build anew. The hall buzzed quietly with laughter and conversation, a symbol of hope unfurling clean in the air, and I knew we had all begun evolving, layer by layer, toward embracing our shared journey, empowering us all to rise together. And as we took those first steps toward reconciliation, bolstered by newfound hope, I reflected on the past burdens lifting, grateful for the support of my fellow officers, my family's unfolding narrative, and none less the blossoming connections renewed that day. This journey of healing was just beginning, but I could feel in my heart we would weather the storms ahead, together as a family reborn. Please confirm if you'd like to proceed to Block 7, Resolution. In the aftermath of that pivotal moment, life within the hall began to buzz with a new kind of energy. Laughter echoed like distant waves, the melody of connection sprouting among friends and family as the initial tension folded away, replaced by the universal language of celebration, a language that needed no translation. The astonishment of the gathered guests morphed, and with it, our family found itself unearthing buried treasures of understanding. I had spent so many years in the Navy, mastering the intricacies of strategy and conflict resolution, skills I hadn't imagined would be beneficial in this familial landscape. Yet here I was, weaving the lessons learned on the battlefield into the folds of our family tapestry. Tact, heart, and dialogue intermingled seamlessly. As I glanced toward my dad, I caught him mingling with a few of the Navy officers. The way he laughed, the lines on his forehead softening, revealed a gentle sincerity emerging, a renewed perspective perhaps instilled by the warmth he saw surrounding us. Our earlier conversation lingered like a promising aftertaste. My mother approached me, her eyes shining with something I couldn't quite decipher. "Emily, I'm so proud of you," she whispered earnestly, her voice thick with emotion. "Your bravery shown not just as an officer, but as a daughter and sister today. You have brought us all back together." I could see in her gaze the understanding that my journey had evolved beyond service alone. It had rippled through our family, offering a promise of unity. I returned her smile, filled with deep gratitude for the love we shared. "Thank you, Mom. I've come to realize that reclaiming my identity meant reconnecting with my past, not just by serving my country, but by preserving the bonds that matter." As the festivities flowed, I noticed Rachel stepping toward some of our old family friends, cautiously exchanging small talk, a sincere smile gracing her face. It felt like witnessing a beautiful metamorphosis, a gentle thawing of resentment in the warmth of new connections. My heart soared. Was she ready to embrace not just our story, but the stories of others too? My fiancé joined my side, an ever-present pillar throughout the day. "You've done wonderfully. It's inspiring to see how the dynamics in your family have shifted so rapidly," he said, eyes sparkling with admiration. "You brought them together in a way I've never witnessed. It's profound, Emily." I can't help but feel it was a shared reflection. It's not just about me finding my voice. It's about us, rediscovering what it means to belong. Each family member has a role to play, and together, we can create something meaningful. As the evening settled over us, the golden hue of the setting sun poured through the ballroom windows, bathing the room in warmth, a delightful metaphor for the change unfolding. I felt a yearning to embrace the unmistakable journey ahead together as a family. Moments turned into hours, laughter filled the air, and I watched as Rachel gravitated toward the core of the festivities, gradually doling out her warmth to our friends and extended family. It was refreshing to see her engage openly, devoid of defensiveness. In her laughter, I found hope. Then, as if orchestrated by fate, she beckoned me over to the edge of the dance floor. "Can we dance?" she asked, her voice almost timid, reminiscent of our childhood days when we would pirouette around, lost in rhythm. "Absolutely," I replied, excitement bubbling within me as we stepped toward the center, surrounded by friends and family. A dance with my sister felt like reclaiming something precious, like sprouting wings from the ashes of discord. We glided to the music, my heart easy as the drumbeats prompted our feet to move effortlessly in flow. I could feel the warmth of her presence, the gentle sway drawing us closer. The laughter echoed, wrapping around us as my mind flooded with memories of shared moments, from childhood mischief to teenage struggles. In this shared space, a vulnerability unfolded, and I whispered amidst the melody, "Rachel, I want you to know how deeply I appreciate you. Throughout the coming years, I hope we continue to build on this." Her gaze softened, and I caught a glimpse of tears welling up in her eyes. "I guess I just felt overshadowed," she confessed, her vulnerability raw yet safe in this moment. "I didn't realize how much I wanted you to feel celebrated as well as included in the family. Maybe I thought it would overshadow everything else." And there it was, a raw honesty bridging the distance we'd crossed. "We can shine individually, Rachel. It doesn't have to be a competition. There's enough love for all of us to flourish," I said earnestly. Classic family tunes played in the background, creating a nostalgic backdrop full of memories shared between us and a promise of bright futures. As we unlocked the depths of our fears and dreams, I could feel our familial bond start to heal, layering with newfound trust. As the last strains of music faded, I could hardly believe my eyes. The unity among our family had transformed completely. It didn't just happen at once. It was a slow unraveling, leading to a deep acceptance and celebration of each other. The journey remained uncharted ahead, but there, in that moment, I felt anchored by love and respect. The vulnerabilities we each held began to spark conversations that expanded beyond our immediate family. Guests engaged one another, stories were exchanged, laughter erupted, and our shared histories emerged like hidden treasures. The celebration felt more ample, more empathetic, each moment encapsulating the essence of service and loyalty to one another. As the evening drew closer to an end, I led a toast, gathering everyone back around. To family, to resilience. "May we embrace our burdens together and honor each other's journeys," I declared, raising my glass. The chorus of voices echoed in agreement, an agreement to move toward acceptance and reassurance. One of my friends raised the toast with a smile. "Let's celebrate the family you've built, Emily. May we all stand by each other in service and life alike." The applause filled the air, mingled with happiness and warmth as all eyes turned toward me, reflecting a newly found respect. This was momentum, a shift in perspective that heralded a new future for us as a family, lower the tumultuous barriers we spent so long behind. As the clock ticked toward the evening, I stepped back into my fiancé's arms, feeling more content than I had in years. The whirlwind of emotion entwined around us, and we shared a glance, a moment of unspoken understanding that echoed our journey's significance. Wrapping his arm around my waist, he leaned near and whispered, "You've molded something truly special today, Emily. Your journey is admirable, and the family you're building is remarkable." In that shared space, with laughter and love cradling us, I knew in my heart that reconciliation wasn't about merely overcoming the past. It was about moving forward together, destiny firm beneath my feet, and a horizon opening before us. And as the last bits of daylight slipped away beyond the horizon, I embraced that vibrant future, ready to navigate it all, hand in hand. There would be stormy seas, but navigating them together felt invigorating. I forged ahead, knowing that our family bonds, once strained, could now harvest seeds of lasting change and transformation, a legacy of love emerging at long last from the depths of misunderstanding. With a final glance around the gathering, a tapestry of relationships renewed, I felt whole at last, complete in my identity, and ready to sail forth into the bright unknown. Perhaps this was the essence of being a Navy officer, not merely wearing a uniform of honor, but understanding that the true strength lies in the love we share and cultivate in the midst of life's chaotic currents. This concludes the narrative. Would you like to reflect upon any part of the story or require any adjustments?